Our goal is not to have any whiffs, not to have any posts which completely miss the topics, especially after the first workshop in a course. Now, as I show you some of the examples, some of the copies are a bit small, I apologize, but that's because we're viewing actual student posts, which sometimes are relatively long, as they should be. So I've done the best we can to shrink the type down and show it on screen. You may want to view this in a full screen mode if possible so you can actually read it. And now might be a good time for you to move your screen to full screen and be prepared for actually looking at some of the specific examples students have turned in at Indiana Wesleyan and some feedback we've given them. So this is initial post example number 1. Now these first examples are based on an assignment requiring 200 to 300 words in an early workshop in a course about midway through the program. Now what this means is that these people and these students have done some writing before, both in this course, they've seen this topic stuff before, and they've been in the program long enough to have interacted in this discussion format previously. So this particular assignment says that we should consider how the different company orientations are towards the marketplace and gives us some language here in terms of what the assignment is. Talks about marketing management over the last 10 years, asks them to talk about the organization they work in, ask them to make some application, and then make some recommendations. We have several elements in this particular assignment that we're asking them to answer. Now I'm going to show this particular first great post because we're going to start off with a great post. I'm going to show you this great post in 6 pieces because it's relatively long, as it needs to be to address the multiple questions in this assignment. So as we look at it and you start scanning through this, realize there are actually 4 specific questions in this particular assignment. So we should be able to see 4 distinct types of answers or 4 different areas of answers in this particular answer. Now this particular answer is fairly long and comprehensive, as it should be. A strong post will not be 40 words because for most assignments it takes several sentences to actually demonstrate mastery. You'll see several strong points in this particular post as you look through it. It's very easy to see the objective criteria that this post meets, that it does use additional sources, and it contains the required references list at the very end. Now there are a few small, relatively minor AP issues. The page number should be at the last in the first citation, because in the first citation the page number is at the beginning instead of the end. And that's something we can certainly give feedback on, but that's not a major issue for what we're trying to accomplish here at this particular level of course. And there's a little bit of punctuation issue in the second citation and that isn't quite correct, but again, we can give that feedback in the grading comment area. We don't want to give that publicly because we want to praise in public. We want to provide that critique in private. Now, due to the way that this particular program displays text, I want to show in italics, and I can't show you the italics in the references list. So all I can tell you is that certainly we need to grade for italics in the APA format, but I cannot in this particular video program get the italics type to show. So I can tell you that in this particular case, the italics in the references list was correct, and therefore I don't need to indicate that in the grading comments. When we look at this particular post, we can see that even in viewing this very strong post, we still want to help the student move to a deeper level of understanding. Therefore, we want to address them and bring them further in discussion by asking an additional engagement question, such as this as I've posted here next. Here we say something that can help the person come forward, because we want to know that even those who are really strong, they can always be better. We want to help even that best student reach their highest level. So we're thanking them for having a comprehensive post. We note this discussion addresses at least some level of history of marketing. And we ask, is marketing management still focused on or finally focused on this particular topic? This particular question it starts with a compliment. This particular instructor post starts with a compliment, which is a really good way to start the process because it acknowledges strong work, which helps the student feel good about what they did. It follows up with some focused questions, which will force the student to think more deeply about his or her answer, which will also provide some additional information to other students who read this particular post to help them learn more about the concept. Now, a different video is going to discuss actually grading comments. That's comments we put in the grading feedback box. But a short little note here can help tie in the comments we make publicly as well as a grading comment at the end. So as a result of this initial post, plus 2 very good reply posts and an appropriate response to the instructor's direct question, This following comment, as you see on screen, was placed in the grading comment box that includes the APA issues we noted earlier. You see that the instructor noted there were several issues present, which is important to let the student know there are some things that need to be worked on, but also reinforces the strong behavior for future workshops. By the way, this blog.apastyle.org website listed in the grading feedback is a really great website. Indiana Wesleyan provides some excellent resources as well, but the one advantage of this blog.apastyle.org website is that it has a lot of individual entries for all the various different APA issues and different APA elements in terms of how to create references and citations. So if you're not familiar with it, personally I might recommend you spend some time checking it out, maybe figuring out how to use that as a resource for our students. See, by supplying the link to the student with the exact information they need, I'm helping direct that student to their exact learning problem or their exact learning opportunity, so in the future they don't make the same mistake again. Now we're going to move to a passing first post. A passing first post is maybe like a B level or maybe a high level C. It's that good but not great post in response to the same question. Again, it will be displayed on several different screens because it's relatively long, as it should be. So the type will be a little bit small, but I'll let you skim through it as I talk about it. Now, this is a good but not great first post for two content reasons, which may be more apparent if you're actually familiar with the topic, but hopefully you can follow along with it anyway. We'll look at this particular post paragraph by paragraph. Now, the first paragraph implies that social media itself is the change in technology, when in fact the internet is the change in technology. Social media is only one thing that happens on the internet. Now, this is an issue in logic and sequence. It's like the cart and the horse or the chicken and the egg, although we don't want to get into that discussion right now. But the issue is here in logic, which we're trying to help our students become logical thinkers, is which came first, the internet or social media? Well, the technological change is social media, the technical change is the internet, not social media. So when they say social media is the major change, we have to understand that we need to help them see that that is the second change, not the first change. The internet brought about social media. So that's the biggest thing we need to point out. It may seem like a small issue, but we need to think about it in all of our disciplines, whatever discipline you're teaching. How does an incorrect sequence affect the thought process of your particular discipline? In the second paragraph, there is no comment about telemarketing, which was the largest and quickest and most common form of market research prior to the internet, and is still part of the overall mix of research today. Now, any of us over the age of 25 or 30, and certainly anybody over the age of 40, remembers how many phone calls we used to get, usually right about dinner time, and all of that led to the do not call list, which many of us enjoy today being on, so we don't get those phone calls. But a marketing student should realize this trend and understand the history of how we got to where we are today. They should have made a comment about telemarketing as part of the history of market research, which they didn't bring up. Telemarketing could provide market research as fast as social media does today. And that's part of understanding trends. So the instructor responded to these two issues, as well as the student not making recommendations about her current company as required in the last part of the assignment. And we see the particular instructor feedback now on screen. So this particular type of question sequence does not give the student the information. In other words, this feedback given to the student does not give them the answer. It points them in the direction of the answer. It requires the student to still do more active learning so that they're involved in how to find the answer to fill in the blanks. The second part of the instructor feedback basically fills in, again, some additional material and restates the assignment because the answer was not provided, while also noting a very true fact that all companies can improve. Many students often feel their company, in the business world, business classes which I teach, often students feel their companies are either outstanding and can make any improvement, or their companies are really bad and need improvement everywhere. When in reality, all companies can get better, and all companies do something very well. But the point here is that this small but important line means the instructor is not saying the employer is doing poorly, because that could offend the student. We don't want to offend the student. Instead, we're pointing out that improvement is always possible, and even a company which is doing a great job can probably find some way to do better. So this is a good post, but not a great post, due to two incorrect or missing elements. Again, there's some APA issues present, and the writing quality is a little bit lower than the first post, which was a great post. In the opening paragraph, we have a noun-verb mismatch. The second paragraph has a word which isn't the possessive format like it should be. The third paragraph is missing a word, and there's a quantity issue between a noun-verb combination which needs to be changed. So those are there's also two words that are the wrong words in the third paragraph, either a spelling or just simply picked the wrong word. So the student did not respond to the instructor questions either, nor did she make any additional reply posts. Again, in a different video, we'll discuss grading comments, but we're going to detail that here just to see you can see how a grading comment placed in the grading feedback box ties back to this particular post. Because again, the whole concept of managing online discussions is all tied together. So the grading feedback comment put in the box, and the grading comment box said your initial post enters some of the elements of the assignment. There's a compliment to help them understand you did a good job. Then brings up a couple issues. It says you must respond to all my questions in detail. Please review this in the rubric. Virtually every rubric I've seen teaching for Indiana lesson requires the students to respond to direct questions from the instructor. It says when I ask questions, because I've noticed some problems in what your post says, and I'm helping you basically earn points. That's a key point. This particular instructor is saying my goal is to help you learn to earn. Also points out some writing issues. So here the instructor is reiterating the assignment and rubric requirements, and the score recorded was a 24 out of 40, which was taken directly from the rubric for a medium quality initial post of 17 out of 20, failure to have the required post, which was 0 out of 12 points, because in this particular case, there were no reply posts to other students or to the instructor, so that's 0 out of 12, and then the writing and AP issues, which led to a 7 out of 8, or a total of 24 out of 40 points. And again, we'll discuss grading in more detail in the grading video, but it all ties together. What happens in our management discussion ties to our grading feedback. So there's two examples from our first post on our first set of questions to give us an idea of a great and a not so great example of an assignment.